for three. There's another one. He's got four. Shot. How about that? Back to a one-point game.
And hi again, everybody. I'm Barry Tompkins, and we're talking West Coast Conference hoops. And we're going to start out our day today, and it's going to be a long day, so stay with us. With Loyola Marymount, we're with Coach Max Good and guard Anthony Ireland. And Max, I'll turn to you first, and let's just get the big picture. Tell me about this team. You're picked kind of in the middle of the pack, coming off a 21-win season. Nothing to be ashamed about there. So tell us about this version of the Lions.
We have some very good veteran leadership back, in Anthony and Ashley Hamilton and Godwin Okonji. And we have some other players that played significant minutes last year. And if we can stay healthy, which at this point we got a player out with pneumonia, one with mono, one with staph infection, another with plantar fasciitis in his foot, and then and another young man that's got a problem with his knee, C.J. Blackwell, who we projected to be a starter going in. We got to get those people healthy because at this point we're very, very thin. But I think we've got significant talent if we can get them all on the floor.
And unfortunately or fortunately, that could be said about everybody in this conference. I mean, top to bottom, this is a tough conference.
Well, the preseason poll has got St. Mary's third. I'm here to tell you if St. Mary's is third in our league, we're somewhere between the ACC and the Big East as far as the toughest conferences in the country, because I can assure you St. Mary's, they're a much, much, much better team than to be picked third in our league, I'll tell you that.
So you talked about all the different bodies that you have available. It does seem like depth is going to mean a lot in this conference as we go on.
Oh, I think it absolutely. You get much attrition, it really takes a toll because every team you play is hard when you play them at home, but when you get on the road is where you really need depth and as you get deep into the conference. And you have to have a lot of quality players. You can't head and shoulder fake your way through this league. You got to show up and play every night.
It is a point guard oriented league too. Guards in general, but point guards maybe in particular, and there's a lot of good ones. You just saw a couple of them on that little scene that we showed you coming up here, but let's talk about the guy next to you.
You want me to talk about him?
I want you to talk about him, then I'm going to ask him about him.
He's pretty good at talking about himself. But he's extremely confident, yet he's humble. He's a very hungry young man. He works endlessly. There's nights where he'll go up and shoot 500 shots or to 1,000 jumpers after going through practice. And our practices aren't for the faint of heart. And he's worked very hard. Being at 5'9", he has to, but he has terrific basketball IQ. He has a big heart. He has that back east toughness, and I'm just glad that we don't have to play against him. I'm glad that we get to pencil his name in our starting lineup.
Well, and Anthony, one of the things that is said about you, and everybody up and down the conference knows about it, is that you play big in big games. Is that just something you just get yourself ready for more than anything else, or how does that all happen?
I'm more focused. Prior to the game, I do a lot of superstitious things just to keep me on track and keep me level-headed.
At 5'9", in this conference, really, there's a lot of small point guards in this conference. But everybody says, and I know this is a cliche, but he plays big, and that's what they say about you.
Yeah, I just try to come out and play as hard as I can each night. I know I'm playing. I'm not only playing for myself. I'm playing for everybody in my hometown, my mom, my last name. So, I just try to come out and do as best I can each night.
Talk about your hometown. You're from all the way back in Connecticut. How'd you end up out here in Los Angeles?
This guy right here, he picked me out, and he just seen me one game. He tells the story quite often. He seen me one game, I made one move, and then he wanted me. So, after we made that, after we got to know each other and stuff, I came out for a visit, and the rest is history.
Let's talk about some of the newcomers, too. There's a guy on this team now who did not play last year. Now, you lost Dubois, who gave you a lot of points and gave you a lot of minutes, but you do have a ready replacement for him.
Well, it remains to be seen. We've got a young man from Eastern Utah Junior College, Chase Flint, who has 3 years of eligibility. That he was a stat stuffer in junior college, and so far he's been really good for us. He's a guy that could care less about his own stats. He cares about one thing, winning. He is highly, highly competitive, as is Anthony. They play against each other virtually every day in the preseason, and because they battled each other and they never whined, never cried, never complained, they're both mature enough to know they're making each other better. But I think he'll be a very capable replacement, and I think Bruce English, a sophomore from Laverne, California, that I didn't play him enough last year. That's a bad decision by me. I should have played him more minutes than he did, because every time he played it, he acquitted himself very well. But I think between the two of them and maybe even Deji Egbayemi playing there in some situations, I think we'll be fine with our guard rotation at the 1 and 2 position.
All right, so we talked about the backcourt. Let's talk about the bigs for just a moment. How do we compare to everybody else in this West Coast Conference in that department?
Well, at this point, all our guys, we've got a 6'8" and a 6'9" down, and C.J. Blackwell is 6'5", who is down. And consequently, right now, and Alex Osborne is down with plantar fasciitis in his foot. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I didn't go to medical school.
That's why you're coaching.
Well, there's a lot of reasons I'm coaching, mainly because there's probably nothing else I could do, and I don't do this very well.
I know the feeling. I can't make a Slurpee. I can never work at a 7-Eleven.
But Godwin Okonji has come back with much more of an offensive mentality, and he's been terrific scoring for us. I told him last year in postseason, Godwin, really you've been very selfish, because you're averaging 3 points a game, yet he's probably in the top half of the players in our league because he's a terrific rebounder and an impeccable defender. But I said, well, I'm not going to get mad at you if you average 8 to 11 a game this year, and he's worked very hard at rectifying that, and I think he'll be a better player offensively clearly than he was last year.
This is a program that clearly is on the rise. As we said, he won 21 games last year, but I just wonder, Anthony, there's a great history at LMU of basketball, of course, and the Hank Gather years, and is that something that you knew about coming in here, or is that just kind of a lore that you do learn about after you get here?
No, I mean, when I came here, I really got familiar with the whole Hank and Bo connection, but they definitely left I mean, their legacy was just what they did, and their time that they was here was just memorable. And then, so me coming in, I wasn't trying to do the same thing they did. I just wanted to let my own legacy.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, we said this is really a guard-driven conference. Is there anybody in particular in this conference who you really get particularly jacked up to play as, take it as a personal, that this is a guy I want to beat one-on-one?
I mean, yeah. I mean, out of the top, definitely the top 3 teams. Gonzaga, BYU, St. Mary's coming to play. But I feel like the team that I've always had a chip on my shoulder with was probably Santa Clara, just because their guard, Evan Rockamore, I mean, he's a tremendous player. And I just feel like we just always battle, because we came in as the freshmen together, and every time we play, it's a battle.
That's the thing about this conference. I mean, there's no gimmies in this conference anymore. You alluded to this earlier, but St. Mary's picked number 3 in the conference, and you were talking to me about Pepperdine, that they're picked last, and they're not exactly chopped liver.
No, the teams that are picked near, first of all, this is all speculation. This is all hypothetical. Really, the preseason rankings mean nothing. All it does is maybe, the teams at the top, they're not going to be complacent, because that jacks them up to play, and all the teams that are ranked low are going back, and I assure you they're going to get in the ear of their players, and they're going to say, hey, this is what the rest of the league thinks of you. So at the end of the day, you got to show up and play. But I'll assure you, every team in this league is very capable. There are really, really good coaches in this league. They're always well prepared. You've got a battle on your hands every single time you line up in this league.
Well, that's what is the philosophy then. You got to win at home, hold serve at home, and get what you can in other places?
Well, last year, ironically, we're 7-1 on the road and only 4-4 at home.
How do you figure?
I don't. Other than a lot of the times when we went on the road, there were full houses, and I think a really competitive and a good player wants to play against a big crowd regardless. I always tell our players, they hear this till they're sick of it. But I said, if Michael Jordan's playing in a pickup game in Boise, Idaho, he's trying to rip the heart out of you and jerk it through your neck, even if it's a pickup game and nobody's watching, you know. But we've got to get better at home. We've got to establish that you know, that we're better, because frankly we did play better on the road than at home, and I can't answer why. I can't answer
and there's some tough places. LMU used to be a very, very tough place. I would love to see it come back to that, but I mean, you got to go play up in Spokane. That's no box of chocolates. You got to play at BYU. You got 18,000, 19,000 people there. Have to play at St. Mary's. Is about a third of the amount of people, but they seem like they're every bit as loud. There's some tough home courts here.
Well, San Francisco, there's no place easy to play in this league. Like I said, you can't head and shoulder fake your way through this league. You got to show up, and you got to be competitive, and being competitive isn't the only answer, because the other team's going to be competitive too. My mentor, Guy Strong, who coached at Eastern Kentucky, said anytime you think you played well, you look at the film, you'll find out you shot the ball pretty well. Other games where you think you didn't play as well, you look, your execution was actually pretty good, but that particular night you didn't shoot the ball well. But and I think he's right. Last year we shot the ball very well at St. Mary's. We shot it well at BYU, and other times at home we didn't shoot it as well.
All right, Max, I hope you do as well at home as you did on the road last year. This is great. Max Good, Anthony Ireland, thanks so much for being with us. Wish you the very best.
Thank you, Barry.
We welcome you back to Media Day in the West Coast Conference. I'm Barry Tompkins, and I'm joined now by Coach at the University of San Francisco, Rex Walder, an old friend, known you since you were a kid. That's really scary. And Cody Doolin is point guard and a guy who's going to make a lot of noise, I have no doubt, in the West Coast Conference this year. So, Rex, let's talk big picture, first of all. Just tell me about this team this year. It's a very different look than it was a year ago.
It's a different look. We're bigger. We're more athletic. I like our group. It starts with the guy to the right of me, and Cole Dickerson's been chomping at the bit. We had a really good foreman named Angelo Clario. You know, Cole would kick his tail in practice every day, you know, and they'd go at it. Now, Angelo made a lot of winning plays, so he found a way to get on the court. But it starts with those two, and then we got a kid named Dean Parker who's pretty good. I mean, 6'4", 6'5". Hadn't had a guard that big at the 2 spot in a while. You know, doesn't shoot it as well as the guy we had before, Michael Williams, but he can do some other things. Can put it on the floor, can attack the basket, really good in transition. Is capable. Went 4 for 6 the last game we played in an exhibition game. So those three, and then we got a lot of young ones, you know, and the only thing I don't know is what's going to happen when the lights go on. I'm getting a better idea after our first exhibition. We are bigger in the post spot, and we'll miss Paris Blackwell, no question. But with Frank Rogers and Tao Zhu, Matt Christensen, we're deeper. You know, we had to play small last year. That hurts you when you play against, you know, some of the teams in our league. You can't go with 2 4s against the Zags or against BYU or even St. Mary's. But I like our group. It's a fun group. They're trying to do what we ask them to do.
Yeah, is it a question? This may be a difficult question to answer, but is it a question of addition by subtraction?
And, you know, losing Paris hurt, you know, and Michael Williams did bring an element in terms of size, in terms of speed, you know, and guys had to guard him on the perimeter. But we're more athletic. We really are. We are deeper at the 5 spot. Marc Tollefson did a good job in the summertime. It can be a stretch 4 for us. So I don't know if it's addition by subtraction. I just like our group. You know, it's a fun group to coach. I thought last year there were some expectations. This year there aren't too many for us, saying all that none of that stuff applies when you step on the court. And the bottom line is when we practice, we're getting better every day. And we're competitive. We don't coach effort. We're coaching now execution. We just got to get some game experience. And saying all that, you know, I'm going to put the ball in his hands, and the good things usually happen when that's the case.
Well, I was going to say, you put it in his hands when you were a freshman, Cody, and I've watched that learning curve. And last year, all of a sudden, you just seemed to I don't know, the light went on. All of a sudden, you got the whole package. I mean, you always took care of the ball pretty well, but you scored much better last year. Now you go into your junior year. You got to be feeling pretty good about not only about the program, but about yourself in general.
Yeah, you know, I think I ended the year pretty strong last year, and I'm just going to try to carry that over in this year. You know, we got a lot of shooters on this team, you know, or shoot the ball really well, and that just helps me out a lot. I mean, it just spreads the court, and, you know, those guys are doing a great job, you know, in the weight room and, you know, getting extra shots up after practice. And, you know, I think if we just, you know, if we just, you know, get a little tougher and rebound the ball a little better, I think, you know, we're going to be a good team down the stretch.
We were talking earlier about the fact that this really is a guard-oriented conference, and there's a lot of good guards. So there's no gimmies. I mean, night in and night out, you're head up with somebody who can play.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You know, I think, you know, every team in our conference has a point guard that's just can really play, and that's fun, though. You know, no nights off. I mean, every night you're lining up, and it's going to be a battle for sure.
But he's going to play a little combo guard. He's going to play 2 some this.
He may. I mean, Dean can swing over, play the 1. Avery Holmes is a kid that can really shoot the basketball. We can play those 2 guys together. You know, the one thing I always say about Cody is before he got here, we won 21 games in 2 years. When he got here, we won 39. So
that says something.
Yeah, you do the math. You know, and. We also had 4 guys that never averaged double figures before he got there. Now all of them, when they left, averaged double figures, 4 guys. And so the ball will be in his hands more. The ball was in his hands a lot, but you know, we spread the floor, and he tries to make the right play. And he doesn't have to be perfect, and that's what he needs to understand from me. I don't expect him to be perfect. And if anything, if there's a weakness, that's it. He tries to be perfect too much, tries to make the perfect play, and he just needs to let it rip, and good things are going to happen.
All right, we have some questions, too, that are going to be asked by some of the fans out there, Twitter questions. Here's one right here. What position do you see Tollefson playing? Guard skills and thin, but post position height. So I'll ask you.
He's a stretch forward that can play the three. We even played him a little bit three in our first exhibition game, and he can stretch the floor. He does have length, so he can guard some threes. He's not going to be a pressure defender, and he's not going to be a physical guy down in the post, but he's got to use speed and quickness. But he can stretch the defense. He can attack the basket. In some of our defenses, he's pretty good because he can cover some ground really quickly with that 6'9", and he's got a really long wingspan. The biggest thing is, he's got to show us he can defend the way we expect guys to defend it. And if he does that, he'll get to show some of his offensive.
And that, of course, a real bottom line in this conference. You best be able to defend. You
got to guard. I mean, there's so many talented players in this league. It starts with the point guard spots, but then you've got great 2s, 3s, 4s. Our 5s are more back to the basket, ball screen, roll guys, if anything. But every 4 in our league, you're going to get an unbelievable matchup. You talk about Harris. You talk about over at Trasolini with Santa Clara. It's just a good league, and there's no easy outs. You're challenged every single time. We've become a team now that we can go on the road and get a W. We've been able to protect the home court for the most part, and so it's a great league. It's fun. It's fun to coach in. It's fun to play in.
Absolutely, and as you said, no gimmies. Let's take another question from a viewer out there, and this is for you, Cody. Where's your favorite place to play on the road in the West Coast Conference? USF, I imagine.
I like playing at Santa Clara a lot. That's obviously our big rival, and they always have a big crowd. And there's always a little extra, something there when we're playing. And, we've been pretty successful playing against them. And I just, that's my favorite place to play on the road, honestly.
All right, one final thing for you, Rex, and that is just the conference in general. I mean, it's a monster conference. I mean, and you alluded to it. There's no gimmies.
It is. And you look at our league, and I like our team. We got a lot of new guys. We're probably the only team that has a lot of new guys. But you start with Gonzaga. They lost a guy that's playing for the Lakers right now, but they bring in a 7'1" monster
Yes.
from overseas, and they got 2 guards coming back that are really good. Harris is a Player of the Year type of candidate. They've got strong bench, great coaching. St. Mary's, when you got Matthew Dellavedova, you're going to always be in a game, and they got good post play. They've got shooters with Stephen Holt. On down the line, and Santa Clara, I don't want to ever compliment them too much because they're our rival, but not having Kevin Foster, not having Trasolini really hurt them. All those guys that were thrust into a position where they had to play a lot of minutes now, that was great experience for them, and now you've got 2 guys that were veteran guys coming in, so it's going to be a great league. And BYU's BYU, Loyola Marymount with Ireland. Come out and watch. I mean, you're going to see some great basketball. We had 3 teams playing in the NCAA tournament. I mean, it's pretty good for the West Coast. And then you had 5 teams playing the postseason. So you're going to see some great basketball, and it's 1 through 9. It really is. You go on the road, you're going to be challenged. You're playing at home. You better bring your A game. If not, you're going to be disappointed.
You won 20 last year. I'm counting on you again.
I like it. I like the way you're thinking.
That's Rex Walder and Cody Doolin, his point guard. You're going to be seeing a lot of in the West Coast Conference this year. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Diego Toreros and their head coach and another old friend, Bill Grier. And we're joined also by sophomore guard Chris Anderson. And Billy, let me ask you first of all about every coach waits for that time where they get, this is my team. I think you could probably say that about this. This is your team. These are your guys.
Yeah. It's really the first time since I've been there that I've felt this way, and quite honestly, it's the best I've felt about our program going into a season since I first got the job. So I'm excited about the group we have, and I'm looking forward to this season.
We've been talking about what a guard-oriented league it is, and there's really none better than the two guys that you have, one of whom is sitting right here.
Yeah, I feel pretty blessed to have two players that not only are good on the floor, but just the way they conduct themselves off the floor, and really the approach that they take that I think has really captured our team, and our team has really bought into the way they approach practice, how they handle themselves around the campus, and it's been great for me to see how positive influence they've had on just everything.
Now let me ask you, Chris. I've heard you are the guy on campus. You're the most popular guy on campus. You know everybody. Everybody knows you.
Well, I mean, around campus, I just try to say hi, smile to everybody. I mean, just be out there so people can see our face, even get more fans to the game just by being nice to people. But, I mean, I know a lot of people know me. It's a pretty nice feeling.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. And a beautiful campus, by the way.
Oh, definitely.
Let me ask you came out of high school, you were the Orange County Player of the Year, but I'm sure people said, he's too small, he really can't play. Did your success last year even surprise you?
I mean, a little bit, but I mean, I always knew that was going to happen. I play like I have a chip on my shoulder. I mean, I'm the smallest guy in the league, so like I got to go out and battle at all times. I can't take any plays off, any days off. So I'm glad the success I had was. I was a little surprised, but I mean, I did what I had to do to help my team win games. So.
And of course, the other half of that backcourt, Johnny D, and these guys really complementary with one another.
It's interesting. Two guys that come in as true freshmen, just to see how well they played off of each other so early in their careers. I mean, you generally don't get that until you've been together for several seasons, and right from the get-go. I mean, Johnny knows how to get himself available coming off Chris. Chris knows how to find him, and they have a great chemistry as a guard duo.
Like Jordan Baker.
And there's no question, these guys are small guys. I'm a small guy, I can relate to that, But they get after you defensively, too.
Yeah, well, I think Johnny's made some big strides there in the offseason. Chris has always had that. I think that's one of his best attributes. I think he, because of his size, he knows that he can't let guys get him down deep in the lane, so he does a good job out on the perimeter getting up under a guy's chin and really being pesky. And he gets his hands on a lot of balls, and so that's an area I think Johnny's gotten a lot better in. So the two of them, I think, are kind of a handful to go against defensively.
All right, so let me ask you about the bigs. I mean, the guards are a given. You got two of the best in the conference. What about the bigs?
We have depth there. We have 5 guys now on the interior. This is the first time we've ever had depth on the inside. I think a guy like Chris Manresa, I've seen probably the biggest jump out of him of anybody in our program so far in the preseason. He's playing like I've always felt he was capable of playing, and I think he's a big key for us. I think if he can play consistently, if he can be a consistent scoring threat, that's really going to help our success this year. But we also have a lot of other guys. Dennis Kramer played very well down the stretch, averaged almost 11 points a game for us last year in league. So. We have depth inside. We have a true freshman that I think by time we get to league, he's going to be a big factor for us because of his length and athleticism. Gito Koch, who's from the Netherlands, and so we have enough depth there and different ways we can play that I think we can battle some people on the interior.
And I think too, anybody that's underachieving, all they have to do is look at these two guys, at Chris and Johnny, and say, well, do as I do.
Well, I think they've been infectious on our program. Their work ethic. I mean, both of them. They're both gym rats. They both work on their games very, very hard. And so I think it's kind of spread to our team, and it's something that you want as a coach. You want your guys down. outside of practice, working on their games, and that's an area that I think they've helped our guys with.
All right, we got a couple of tweets. We're going to take one of them right now as we take a look at this question from a viewer. The Toros, is Johnny D the best pure shooter in the conference?
I don't know if he's the best one, but he's got to be right up there at the
Looked
top.
pretty good to me.
I tell you, from
from
a technical standpoint, that ball comes off his hand as good as any kid I've been around, and I've had a chance to be around some pretty good guards, and he shoots it as well as any kid I've ever been fortunate enough to coach.
All right, let's take a look at another tweet here and another question from a viewer out there. To Chris Anderson, rumor has it you're the best 2K player at USD. Can you elaborate?
Well, when it comes to video games, I don't mess around. So.
You don't mess around in basketball
exactly.
games either.
So I mean, just like off the court, on the court, in 2K, I'll play hard too. So
he's pretty competitive at everything he does.
Exactly.
So.
Well, it's interesting. Last year, I think you guys did sneak up on a few people, and we're kind of a surprise. This year, there's no sneaking up, and if anything, the conference is harder this year than it was last year.
Yeah, I just am amazed how tough this conference is. I've been in it a long time, and I think the depth now, top 6, 7 teams right now are just. It's going to be a war this year. I think it's maybe the best this league's ever been. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time for this conference. I think this conference has grown tremendously on the national scale, and we're looking forward to it.
And you were with Marc Few for several years. You know everything he does. You ought to be able to go in there and beat him, huh?
Yeah, it's a really easy place to play.
Oh, I know it is.
I thought it was an easier place to play when I was on the other bench.
Then it was, wasn't it? Is there a place that you particularly either really get jacked up to go play because it is so tough?
Well, I really like going to BYU. I feel like the arena is so big and hosts so many people, and like their fans, they pack the gym. And going there, their first time in the league, so I thought I was a freshman too. I was just kind of like amazed by all the big lights and everything, and I thought it was really cool. And I got pumped to play there. It was just nice. And the funny thing is, their fans are so nice. I feel like at one point they were cheering for us. So it was fun.
Unlike St. Mary's, where you got a third of the amount of fans and they're every bit as loud.
Exactly.
And they don't like you.
They don't. But it's fun. I think a lot of the gyms there, I think WCC has a lot of good places where it's hard to play, but it's fun too. So I get hyped on plenty of games.
It really seems like the conference is so good this year that you just have to win at home, win everything you can at home, and go out and get what you can on the road.
Absolutely. I think that's a big key. And the teams that are going to finish in the top half of the league are going to be teams that not only take care of business at home, but they find a way to go on the road. I mean, you look at what LMU did last year. They went 7-1 on the road in this league. I mean, that was incredible what they did on the road. So, it does start at home. It's certainly something we've talked about with our guys, and it's a goal that they have, is to take care of business at home, because if you can do that, it puts you in a great position within the conference.
And in the middle of this league is equivalent to the top of a lot of other leagues. I mean, you're talking about 4, 5, 6, and you're right in that 4, 5, 6 mix, which is very close between Santa Clara and you guys in Loyola. So, I mean, 6, 7, 8 deep. I mean, this is a tough conference.
Yeah, well, it's like I said, I think it's the deepest this conference been since I've been in it, and I've been in it now. This is my 22nd year, so there's some very, very good players in this league. There's some very good coaches, and I think just with the addition of BYU and where St. Mary's and Gonzaga are, and just how the other programs have all raised the level of their play, this league's become very, very difficult.
Yeah, good coaches and good players. Chris, thanks very much.
Yeah,
I want to
no
wish you the
problem.
very best. And
Thank you. Appreciate
Billy,
it.
I always wish you the best. We'll have dinner in San Diego, I promise, this year.
Okay, are you buying or am I?
I'll buy in San Diego. You bought in Spokane, I think. Somehow I think I'm getting screwed on that. That's Billy Grier, and those are the San Diego Toreros. Welcome back to Media Day here in the West Coast Conference. We are in Time Warner Cable's Los Angeles studio. We're joined now by Marc Few and Elias Harris of the Gonzaga Bulldogs. And I was going to start this interview by saying your team has gotten so much respect that people are starting to understand how to pronounce Gonzaga. And then we had 3 coaches in here mispronounce it. So maybe you're not getting that much respect yet. I don't know.
It's respect or ignorance, one of the two, I don't know.
The bottom line is it's Gonzaga, and once again, the Zags are loaded. I don't know what to say. I mean, this is a good basketball team.
It's a good group of guys is what it is. It's a very good group of players that work really, really hard and play well together. They're fun to coach, easy to coach, and I'm enjoyed being with them not only last year, but so far through the preseason here.
And I think, too, it's a great compliment to you and to your staff, but this is not only a good basketball team, this is a good basketball program now, and everybody knows Gonzaga. You mentioned Gonzaga anywhere you go in the country, and everywhere in the world, for that matter. Yeah, Elias from Germany, of course, but everybody knows the program, and people want to play there now.
Yeah, I hope so, and I think the guys that have been before Elias have done a great job as ambassadors for the program, ambassadors for the league, heck, ambassadors for West Coast basketball in general. And the fact that we've, went to 14 straight NCAA tournaments is something that I think everybody's very, very proud of up there. And we are a national program, and because of guys like this guy, we've been able to stay on the national map. Now he's a senior, and now you watch him in practice, kind of passing the torch on to the young guys coming up, and it's a great thing about having a program, building a program, and being there through the whole process.
Well, you lose a big guy to the Los Angeles Lakers. Sacre, of course, was a 4-year player for you, and now you go off to Warsaw and you bring back another big guy.
Yeah, 2 different people here. I mean, as everybody in LA realizes now how big personality Rob has and how big an entity that he is, but Shemek's going to be a very good player. He's, as Elias can tell you, he's got great hands, can pass the ball very well, has a nice touch, his feet are good, and runs the floor well for a big guy. But, right now, I mean, we got 3 other kids that play at or around the hoop, or in Elias and Sam Dower and Kelly Olynyk that are very, very good players. And so, Shem's got his work cut out for him to get time with those guys.
Well, Elias, tell me, I mean, you've been around this program for 4 years now. Talk about this team as compared to the past 3 teams that you played on.
I really think we got great team chemistry this year. Not saying that we didn't have in the past, but I feel like this year's even better. Everybody gets along with each other really well, on and off the court. I mean, and I think that's really key, hopefully for a successful season.
Last year, you start with 2 freshman point guards. Both of them wound up of all-star caliber. They're back not only this year, but looking ahead, too. So, and again, we've talked about all along, this is a guard-driven league, and you got 2 of the best.
Yeah, I mean, I think this guy would argue that
it's a guard-driven league, I know.
With he and Sam and Kelly and some of the bigs in the league. But, we've had a great run of guards at Gonzaga, and certainly there's a great run of guards right now in the WCC. I love the ones that I have, and Gary and Kevin. I mean, they had remarkable years last year for freshmen, but David Stockton too. I mean, there's a guy that is as tough as they come, has a great feel for the game, has done a great job making himself better over this past year, as have Gary and Kevin. And we got a guy named Guy Landry Edie there at the wing that also has made himself a lot better over the offseason. So, hopefully between all those guys, our perimeter play will be very, very solid.
I'm sure I'm going to pose this to both of you guys, really, but this league, it seems, is starting to get the respect that it's due. I mean, this is a tough league now, top to bottom.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, starting my freshman year and being now a senior, the league has tremendously gotten better. I mean, and then last year, BYU joining our conference, that helped out to get it better too. So, really, I mean, it's getting better and better from year to year, I feel like.
All right, we got a couple of tweets here. I do want to talk to you more about the conference in general, but
you a Twitter guy? You big
all the time, as you are, I'm sure.
Yeah.
This is for Elias. And how's your treatment to the injury proceeding? And said you looked explosive in the game on Saturday.
No, I'm feeling pretty good again. Yeah, I mean, I had a little crying issue right there, but I took care of it and that great help.
That's good news. Let's take one more tweet. And this is also for you, Elias. What are some special moments that you could remember in WCC play? This is your 4th year now.
I think
Dinner at Coach Few's house.
absolutely. It's always a
That's
highlight.
number one, yeah.
I mean, my personal highlight, I think, is last year when I sent us into overtime. I mean, it's not the outcome I wanted at the end of the day, but I think that's, like, for me personally, one of my highlights for sure.
We talked about, excuse me, the West Coast Conference in general and how tough it is top to bottom. And you mentioned you've been 14 straight postseasons, NCAA tournaments, and I would think just playing the likes of St. Mary's and BYU, and this year Santa Clara is going to be a lot better. And, top to bottom, there's no gimmies in this league. That's got to get your tournament ready.
Oh, yeah, very much so. And it also, what's changed over the years is it's really helped our NCAA profile, whereas before when we'd go into league, after playing a really, really tough preseason, we'd watch as our RPI dropped and dropped. But now that hasn't been the case. To get 3 teams in the tournament last year, it was something that very, very well deserving of all those teams. But also, I think it's what we expect to do now, year in and year out, within the league. And so, as Elias mentioned, adding BYU, kind of really enhance the profile of the conference where, it's as good as any out west. But
yet you still have that killer preseason.
Yeah, we do. It hasn't killed us yet, so we keep doing it. I listened very closely on Selection Sunday. I really, really do, Barry, to that message that they try to send with the seeding and even the selection and all that. And it all comes down to we all have non-conference games and what do you do with those non-conference games? Because you control that. And it seems to me the committee keeps telling you to go out and play, other NCAA tournament teams and go out and play teams that, are going to challenge you and that are going to show well at the end of the year. So that's what we've been able to do. And he came to Gonzaga to play those kind of games, and that's one of the reasons why he came here.
Well, but one of the things that you have to deal with is people don't want to play in your place.
Yeah, well, that's changed now lately. I mean, we've had a great home schedule. We got Illinois coming in this year, and Baylor and West Virginia. I mean, those are great home games, especially in this age where there isn't a whole lot of home and home going on. We had Michigan State come in last year, which was unbelievable environment in the kennel. And as I'm sure these ones will be this year. But so that's really changed. Now we're to the point where we kind of got to back off a little bit here. We can't just do murderer's row through the entire preseason. But we got another great schedule, and it should be very challenging for our guys and get us ready for league play.
Well, it speaks to depth, too. I mean, you have to have depth, I think, now. And it certainly seems that this is a team that has that. It looks to me like you're 9 or 10 deep. I'll let you answer that question.
No, absolutely. I think our starting 5 and then our second 5, it doesn't really drop. I mean, I feel like it's consistent, really, and that's going to be really helpful during the season.
I think it's going to be a great year for you guys once again. I mean, as it has been every year, and you know what I feel about the job that you've been doing, just a sensational job. And Elias, watched you over 4 years. I want to wish you continued success.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Those are the Zags. Gonzaga. Zaga. Not Zaga. I never say that. We turn our attention now to BYU, newest member of the West Coast Conference. They play now in their second year. Coach Dave Rose, senior guard Marc Zylstra. And Dave, let me ask you, first of all, this is your second year in the West Coast Conference, coming out of the Mountain West Conference, which in itself, pretty darn good basketball conference. But talk to us about what that first year was like and what the differences in the two were like.
Well, I think there's a way more similarities between the two leagues than there are differences. I think the biggest difference is the venues. In the Mountain West Conference, they're maybe a little bit larger venues with bigger crowds. But as far as the competition and the excitement and the energy, and it's very similar. I'm really, really impressed. I feel way more comfortable today than I did last year at this time. We've been through the league. Our players know the rosters a little bit better. I knew the coaches really well last year, but I didn't know the players. I actually know the players a lot better and know that we're in for a real challenge. It's a great league, extremely competitive. And the one thing that I think is really comforting to us and to our fans is that we had a successful season last year. Won a few games. We didn't quite do as well in the league as we'd like, but we still got a chance to play in the NCAA tournament and get a win, and that's a great opportunity for our program.
And I think it speaks to the league, too. Brock, let me ask you. You played in both the Mountain West and in the West Coast Conference. Talk a little bit about your experiences in the two leagues.
I think Coach Rose, hit it pretty well, but the routine that you have in the Mountain West Conference, been there, you know what hotels you're going to, you know the arenas, you know what the crowds are going to be like. That was different, but as far as everything else, you're still playing basketball and you're playing against good competition, and the top teams, most of the teams in the whole conference are great teams, and they have great players, and so it's just basketball playing against other teams.
Now it's just a game, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk big picture about this year's version of BYU. You have a senior in Brock, and it's I don't want to say a senior-laden team, but an experienced team that you have this year.
A lot more experience going into this year than we did last year. Last year we had guys who had been in our program, but they hadn't been frontline guys. They'd just been really important role players to our team. And this year we've got Matt Carlino and Tyler Hawes, who've played a lot of minutes, and both were all-league players as freshmen. Brandon Davies, Brock's played a lot of minutes with Nate Austin. We've got a lot of guys on our roster who have played important minutes for us, and so that'll be the difference going in. We'll have to see how. Your team has to be good early, has to be good in the middle of the season, has to be good late in the season.
That's all, though.
But that's all. Other than that, that's all you need. But we'll see how we progress as a group as the season goes along, because I think our roster has some depth to it, but we'll just have to see how guys fit.
I want to talk to you a little bit about Carlino and Hawes. Carlino you didn't get until into the season last year, and Hawes, of course, just coming back from a mission. So talk to me a little bit about those two.
Well, that was a tough adjustment for our team last year. Matt didn't play the first 10 or 12 games of the season, and then you bring him in, and his first game was unbelievable. He played against Baylor. It was a huge game, sold out at our place, and he came in and scored well, assisted the ball well, and then the expectation was to just be better than that, and it was his first year in college basketball, so we were really impressed and pleased with how Matt played for us. The expectation for Matt this year is to improve upon that season, and hopefully he will. And all the early signs are that he made a lot of the necessary changes. He's gained some weight. It looks like he's a little bit stronger, and so those will all be good things for him. But the fact that he gets to start from day one will really be a big benefit for him.
Yeah, I'm sure. Let's talk about depth in general, and it does seem like this is a very deep BYU team that you have, but it also seems that this is something you have to have playing in the West Coast Conference.
Well, there's no question that the depth is the key to the success of any team, but especially a team that's trying to compete for a conference championship, because that first weekend is really important in conference, and so is the last weekend really important, and then all the games in between. And so I think that's kind of what is so exciting about conference play, is the fact that that regular season conference champion is a team that has been through adversity throughout an 8, 10, 12-week period and been able to be successful and come out with it. And St. Mary's was unbelievable last year with how consistent they were from start to finish, and then going down and winning the conference tournament. And so that's something that we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, it's going to be more of the same this year, I think, and maybe even more teams than that. We have some tweets, some questions that some of the viewers out there. This is for you, Dave. What was the toughest WCC arena to play in last year?
Well, I think that St. Mary's is a tough, a really tough place. Gonzaga's tough. I'll just tell you all the places we got beat. Okay,
those are all the tough
those are the toughest
places,
ones.
right?
But they're all. San Francisco was a heck of a game for us. I mean, Matt made to play late in the game to win a game there. But I think if you ask our players, the feel of those venues are a little bit different than the Mountain West Conference, but they are just as exciting and just as emotional, and they're all crucial games.
Well, that's what I was going to say, and I'll ask you this question, Brock. I mean, your place certainly is, twice as big as most every place in this conference, and probably 3 times as big as St. Mary's, and yet St. Mary's seems to be almost as loud as your place. Tough place.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think it's the fans would feel like they're right on top of you, and it's a smaller arena, but it's just as loud, like you said, and you feel like you're going out of bounds and you're landing in somebody's lap. And,
That's true.
But they're great fans. I mean, most of the schools here in this conference have great fans that love their team. So basically any place you play is going to be a hard arena.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. Let's take another tweet question here, and this one also for you, Dave. In your second year in the WCC, your strategy to succeed, is there a strategy in this conference?
Well, I think that the one thing that is really impressive to our staff is that, the winner of this league over the course of the last 10, 11, 12 years, they don't lose very many games. And so your strategy to succeed is you got to win every game you play. And there are times in other leagues where teams might get knocked off, and there might be, an 11-5 champion or a co-champion. But in this league, it seems like you're going to have to win just about every game you play in order to get a league championship.
Particularly at home. You got to hold serve at home, I would think. Brock, everybody talks about senior leadership and how important it is in college basketball, but especially playing on the road. And I know you have a few seniors on this team, but do you feel of that as your role, that you got to be one of the stand-up guys here?
Yeah, and I think you got a few of us on the team that have been played a lot last year, and you got Brandon and Craig Cusick and myself. And I mean, the guys that are coming in, we have a few new guys on the team, including JC transfers and Raul and Augie and some of the freshmen, and it's new to them. Everything is new to them, so they look to somebody that has been there and has had some experience. So we're there to be there for them and to kind of lead them and do whatever we can to help them out.
The one thing that I really do have to feel is that this conference really does get you ready for the postseason, as it did last year for you guys.
Well, there's no question. I mean, this is it's extremely competitive. I think that the players are very talented. The coaches are very strategic. I mean, there's a lot of adjustments that you have to make during a game because I think that as far as learning those things and trying to get a feel for what other guys are doing, that was a real learning experience for us last year, and hopefully we can use some of that experience this year to help us improve.
Your teams have always struck me as being very unselfish teams, even though you do have marquee players, but it seems to me that every one of your teams that I've seen is a very unselfish team. And I think really when you look at this conference, that may be up and down the conference. Gonzaga's like that, St. Mary's like that. They got marquee players, but every team in this conference is pretty unselfish.
They play together, and I think that's one of the big challenges as a coach. But you get players who respect each other, they respect the game, and they're fun to coach, and I think that's what you see in our league.
I want to wish you both the best success this year.
Thank you.
All right,
Look forward to seeing you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you. Thank you.
That's the look at BYU. Still a little bit more to come here as we talk to all the teams in the West Coast Conference on Media Day here in Los Angeles. This is West Coast Media Day, West Coast Conference Media Day, I should say, and we turn our attention now to Portland and their head coach, Eric Reveno, and junior forward Ryan Nichols. So, Eric, let me ask you first of all, I know you didn't schedule this year the way you did last year. I assume that was the AD, that wasn't you, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, the schedule this year is challenging, but last year got away from us a little bit. We get a little more balance in the schedule, but we still have some tough ones at Kentucky, UNLV at home, and so it'll be a lot of fun.
Gimmies at Kentucky?
Yeah.
Come on, Ryan, that's no problem.
Oh, yeah. No, we've done it before.
All right, let's talk, first of all, give me a big picture. Let's talk about this team in general and what might be a little bit different from what was last year.
Well, our young guys are a year older, which is nice. If someone always says, well, freshmen, the nice thing about freshmen is they become sophomores.
The best thing.
They become sophomores. And stud sophomores become stud juniors and a little bit older. But we have one senior, Derek Rogers, who's providing some really good leadership. We're still pretty young. You know, big picture, we're still pretty young, but we're getting older and we're getting some experience. And I like the way the guys have been working to start off the year and a lot of enthusiasm.
Well, the good thing is that obviously Portland is getting better. And I suppose the bad news is the rest of the conference is getting better too. It's as tough a conference as I can remember.
Yeah, no, they announced the coaches poll today, and someone asked me about it. I said the toughest thing about it was filling it out, you know, and just trying to predict and say, and we don't put our own team down, but there's not a team in the conference that you really can't make a good argument for that they're going to be a little bit better, you know, and whether it's the top of the league or the teams that struggled last year, everyone's improving.
And the thing is, too, I would think, and most coaches agree with this, you got to hold serve at home and get what you can on the road, but you've got a really good home court advantage there. I mean, it's a great place to play, Ron.
It is. Great arena, great environment. The student section seems like it's getting better every year, getting more people out there, and I do like it's a shooter's gym. I think you've seen historically, so I like that.
What's the feel on this team this year going into the season?
I'm really excited. I think all off season, preseason, we've really worked to put last year behind us, you know, form our new identity, and it's all been leading up to this. Now we can show everyone, you know, what we've been up to.
All right, we've talked to almost every coach about how this is really a guard-oriented league, but Eric, I know you work with big guys, and you've had some great success working with the bigs at Portland and everywhere you've been for that matter. So let's talk about the bigs that we're going to be seeing this year at Portland.
Yeah, no, we've had some good bigs and we've had some good shooters. We actually shot the ball, and I always says we've shot the ball well, but it's our inside game that sort of based us. And this year will be no different. I like our perimeter guys, but when you've got Ryan and some guys inside banging away that give you some stability defensively and offensively, some production. Ryan Nicholas, of course, and then Thomas Vandermar is a sophomore, and Riley Barker, who was hurt last year. Those two guys, 6'10", skilled players. They can run the floor really well, give you the ability to both play fast and give you a defensive and offensive presence in the paint, and they're both sophomores, and so that's really exciting for us.
Tell me a little bit about DeMars. This is another guy who came out of the same high school, I think, as the Dutch player you were just talking about.
Yeah, you know, Thomas is just a big, strong kid that can and bang around, and he's really physical. He's a great student. You guys give him a little bit of a hard time. He's such a good student. He's so smart, and he does so well in the classroom. And he approaches his game with a lot of focus and intensity that he brings to everything he does.
Like you went to Stanford. You were smart. You could play the post.
He's a better student than I was. I'll leave it at that. He's a better student. You don't have my GPA there, do you?
No, I don't.
He did better than I did.
Everybody talks about depth in this conference, and it's really something that you do have to have, and it does seem like you do have that this year.
Yeah, no, we have some depth. I think the guys saw it firsthand in our exhibition game the other night. You know, they're used to playing a scrimmage where you've got 7 guys on one team, 7 guys on the other team, and they're not getting enough rest. And then all of a sudden you've got a bench with a bunch of guys, and from a coaching standpoint, you know, you're not going to get 12 guys 20 minutes. The math just doesn't, doesn't work out. And so we've got to become a team, and as a coach, the challenge is really developing those roles. As you know, everyone understanding their role and being really good in that role. And we've got the depth and the competition at spots to really make that exciting.
All right, let's take a look at a couple of questions. We have tweets here, and we'll get this question. This is for Ryan. Where do you feel you've improved the most since last year?
Outside shooting, definitely. A lot of reps this summer and off season, and I'm just hoping it pays off and can help my team.
Let's take another one. I think we have another tweet here. We'll take this one, then I want to ask something else. Coach, how does having a new and add impact the situation on basketball? A new AD. That's what that would be.
Our former AD Larry Williams was a great boss, first boss for me at University of Portland, and did a lot of things to help our team go through that stage that we were at. And now Scott Lakem, our new athletic director, might be the perfect guy for this time in our development. We're at a different place, and his ability that with external relations and fundraising, and even some things in terms of some concrete things with basketball scheduling and getting those games and understanding how that works. He's been fantastic. So it's been a tremendous move for the basketball team.
Yeah, Scott, good guy and a good basketball guy too. Yeah. One of the things that does seem important, especially when you look ahead or look back on last year, and that is getting out of the blocks quickly here this year. It's kind of starting to believe in yourself. I take it that's something you've really preached to these guys.
Yeah, no, it really is. What was interesting, one of the learning lessons from last year was no matter what you say as a coach, and as much as you say certain things, you need to have the experience to build that confidence. You need to do things and be effective. In the years we had those 20-win seasons a couple years ago, we were able to have some success, and then that sort of starts snowballing. You see it in everything, and we need to have that kind of success early. And so there's a lot of focus on really starting well. If you don't, you can adjust, and you will, and you'll have some rough spots because the conference is so tough. You really want to just be good for the conference, but starting early makes it a lot easier.
Can you feel it, Ryan, though? I know you've only played one exhibition game, but can you sense that there's a little bit more going on this year?
Definitely. Like I said, we've been doing this for months now. It's not on camera. We've really put a big emphasis and turn around the attitude, turn around the energy, and we played Concordia last year, won by 9, beat them by considerably more this year, and just beyond that, it just was more fun. Guys were really getting after it, and I felt good about it.
Yeah, there's really something to be said, too, I think, as a coach for having your guys, and these seem like your guys.
Yeah, no, I think we've developed a culture of our program, and that people want to put a lot of credit with the head coach and the figurehead and stuff, and I really see it as our staff and our players. But I'm really comfortable with our players. If you want to say your guys, I'm comfortable with the competitiveness, the attitude, the work ethic in the off season that Ryan's referring to. I'm proud of where we are as a program, and so we connect on that stuff.
Does he get around you guys, bang around with you guys a little bit?
Yeah, I mean,
he can do that.
I joke that he doesn't use the blue pad in practice. He bangs right in, right around with us. So
I move about as well as a blue pad too.
That's not true.
Really intimidating the half court. If I can get him in full court, then I got a chance. But
he was typical. I did a lot of his games when he was in college, and he was typical of the kind of guy that he's recruiting guys like you.
Yeah.
All right, Eric, I want to wish you the very best. No, it's all true, Eric.
Always good to see you.
Wish you the best.
Thank you.
That's the University of Portland. Ryan Nichols right there, Eric Reveno right here. They're going to be good. You watch. Well, it's West Coast Conference basketball tip-off day, and we're joined now by Santa Clara head coach Kerry Keating and senior forward Marc Trasolini. And let me ask you first of all, Marc, it's great to see you back. It's great to see you back in one piece.
Absolutely. I'm super happy to be here. I'm really excited to get going this year.
You and I sat here in this, well, it wasn't in this very place, but it was at this very meeting and a year ago, and I know you were really confident. You had a lot of guys who could really play, and you were going to be up near the top of the conference, if not on top of the conference. And boy, talk about Murphy's Law. It was what could go wrong did go wrong.
Well, starting with Marc in the springtime and then started the fall. You know, he had a great summer, poised for a great senior year. Certainly bringing Kevin back, Evan coming off a great freshman year, and a good group of freshmen that were ready to compete, had a good summer. And, you know, a couple turns, a couple twists here, and it put a strain on us mentally. Physically, we were good. Physically, outside of not having Marc, and obviously after Kevin removed himself from the picture for the last half of the season, they were competing. But it was more of a mental aspect we had to make sure we took care of. And I think that, you know, we'll learn from it, and we have. I think the 16 weeks we took from April into September will pay some early dividends, and hopefully come conference time will pay off even more.
I can't wait for you to call me. I got 4 years of eligibility left. You know.
We would have taken anything at that point. We got to put the ball in the basket, though.
Well, that. Well, let's talk about this year now. Where we were last year, the picture's probably a little bit brighter this year because you do get your two guys back that you missed sorely last year. But in the meantime, a lot of other guys got a lot of playing time that they wouldn't otherwise have had.
Yeah, as I mentioned, the freshmen, we went through this a little bit in 09. You know, Kevin went out. And when Marc was a sophomore that year, you know, we were playing at sometimes 4 or 5 first-year guys on the floor. We saw the dividends of that late in 2010. We were able to put it together after a 5-5 start. You know, win 19 games after that in the CIT championship. Certainly, our aspirations are a little bit higher, having gone through postseason with 9 guys on a roster this year, have a ring from that year. So it's odd to go from young to old without the benefit of Mormon missions, as we know a little bit about in this league. But in our own right, bringing back 2 fifth-year all-conference seniors with Marc and Kevin certainly creates a lot of optimism for us.
Marc, let me ask you what it's been like. First of all, just coming back, I mean, there's always that question the first time you step on a floor. But over and above that, the other 3 Santa Clara teams that you did play on, is there any kind of a comparison?
Yeah, I mean, it's been really tough having to overcome what I overcame in the last 12 months. Watching my team struggle and not being able to help them on the floor. I mean, after all the success we had in 2010 with the CIT run. But now, I mean, we're past that. I think it's been a great experience for us, having to get that experience in the playing time that the younger guys had. And I think we're ready to take on the challenge this year and really have a strong year, better year than we've ever had.
And needless to say, Kerry, I mean, it's great that you are whole now and you are, without question, you've got to be very competitive. And at the same time, this is probably as good as I've ever seen this league be.
And you've seen it for a long time. You know, certainly the years I had at UCLA, going on 10 years here in the West Coast, I've seen the growth of it and having been a big part of it over the last 6 years. We're excited to be right in the middle of it and look forward to being at the top of it hopefully soon.
Well, let's talk about, we've mentioned this to all the coaches, but it really seems that because this schedule, conference schedule over and above the non-conference schedule, is so tough that depth is going to be a big thing, and it does seem like the Santa Clara team has that.
Well, getting those freshmen experience last year, bringing back 2 fifth-year seniors, you know, looking at our roster, figuring, you know, 10, 11, 12 guys have had it before. Excuse me. We feel like, you know, the competition is going to be there in practice. It should only pay off when we get to the games, and hopefully they're all there when January comes around.
Got to have good guards in this conference, and certainly you do.
And deep. You know, we had some younger guys, had really good off seasons to establish themselves. We have 3 sophomore guards. We know we're getting with Evan and Kevin and Ray, junior and senior guards. We needed to have those sophomores have a really good summer, and all 3 of them did. Brandon and Denzel and Julian in their own right really added strength, added maturity, added repetition. Were around all summer and really entrenched themselves in that rotation. Gives us a not too common 6 deep guard rotation that we're looking forward to utilizing early.
In a league like this, of course, which is so tough week in and week out, and especially when you take it on the road, senior leadership becomes a big thing. Do you take that role on you?
Absolutely. That's something that we really struggled with last year. We had no one basically to lead the team. I was doing my best off the court, but we really needed that on the court in general, and I think that's something that we really have this year. Going to be 5 seniors, actually 4 seniors and a walk-on, and I think that's going to pay huge dividends for us being able to be big-time leaders, and that's something that we've worked on off the court with Coach Keating and with some other people in the community, working on our leadership skills and being able to really help this team.
The Bruin fans will be mad at me that we called in a former Trojan to help our senior leadership.
Oh, no!
We were fortunate enough to have a relationship with Ronnie Lott. He's a Bay Area, resident now, has a successful business going, a venture capital company, and through some mutual friends, we were able to reach out to Ronnie, and I was able to impart these guys onto him, and then they kind of took the bull by the horns, and it was all on them for 3 or 4 times this summer, and what Ronnie had gone through on a professional level, winning championships, dealing with adversity, dealing with talented players, going through some personal adversity, how we can, utilize some things that he was able to get done on the playing field. Certainly was a pretty tough guy. And,
I'd say.
Really fortunate that he was able to do that through the help of some friends, and these guys really did a good job.
That had to be a great experience for you.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a proven winner. Total tough guy. I mean, great lessons for us, some great quotes, and had some awesome meetings with him.
I'll bet. All right, we got some tweets, some questions from some of the people out there listening. This is for you, Marc. How good can this be this year?
How good can this be this year? The WCC or the?
I think they probably mean Santa Clara.
Okay, Santa Clara can be great this year. Obviously, our expectations are to be number 1. I mean, no one comes into the conference trying to be number 3. We're trying to win this conference, and we know we have all the tools that we need to win this conference, and that's the goal.
All right, let's take another tweet here, and this is for both of you, Marc and for Kerry. What's your favorite men's basketball tradition at Santa Clara? Winning, I think, would be a nice one.
Well, we're fortunate to have a pretty good history, and one of the traditions that we have and that we've established is bringing back the former players almost every summer, if not every other summer. Guys like Bud Ogden, who have been a staple in our program, local resident Gilroy comes to practice a lot. We're fortunate to have guys like Dennis Autry still be a part of the program, even though they're from afar in Portland. We were fortunate this year to have the 1952 Final Four team, as many of them that were around, come back this summer, watch us actually practice in August, because we were able to actually play and practice with the guys on the court, and then have these guys spend time with them. They have a Final Four banner hanging up there. Coach Garibaldi there, and Ken Sears was back, and obviously Bud being there. I mean, there's some good players that establish themselves. That tradition is something that we need to reestablish, and we're looking forward to. I think our tradition that our students have started, I think some of the other coaches mentioned that to Marc, the Rough Riders. I know the Kennel does a great job, and obviously the support that they give to Gonzaga at home, but I'm pretty sure our Rough Riders can hold their own and have done a pretty good job of establishing that in their own team.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. I mean, your place, when it's going, really rocks, and I would think especially this year, as tough as the conference is, you better hold serve at home.
Well, 19 home games again. 2 years ago, we had 19 home games. It benefited us. We were able to win 24. I think we had the most home games outside of Duke that year in the entire country. I haven't looked at all the schedules this year. I think we'd be right up there to have the most amount of home games. Coach Kearns works diligently on our schedule every day, and obviously having the benefit of the cable car going into its 46th season this year. It will be before Christmas for the fans out there this year, the weekend before instead of the weekend after. Now the conference is pushing back into December. But having all those home games is a huge benefit. Now, it's on us to go and utilize that, but I think having the support, having the Rough Riders, having the Bronco fans out there in mass can really make Levy a tough place to play.
I was 18 years old. I did the public address announcing at the first Cable Car Classic.
Well, we're so fortunate.
I'm not doing it again, Kerry.
We'll bring it back for the 50th anniversary.
Thanks a lot. With Bud Ogden.
There you go.
Again, the bottom line in this conference, hold serve at home, get what you can on the road, I guess, huh?
Yeah, it's going to be tough to win on the road anywhere. Every road game poses challenges, whether be it a large crowd or a unique place to get to. I mean, we know being LA, I'd say natives, but people have lived there. I mean, it's hard to get to Pepperdine. It's not as easy as just getting on the freeway and going up. That's a tough trip, and obviously Marty's doing a great job, and Pepperdine has a rich tradition, and every game's going to be tough because of the coaches, because of the talent, the competition, the expectations. I'm hoping from our standpoint as a conference, we can do what we need to do in the 15 to 16 games prior to the conference so that we can put ourselves in a position to do the things that I think we're capable of doing as a conference in March, which is put 4 or 5 teams on the board possibly for March Madness.
I think it really says something to what you've done here, and of course the players like Marc coming back, but you were bageled in conference play last year, did not win a conference game, and now picked in the top 5. That says something about what's going on.
For me personally, it was the best year we've had. For me. I mean, it kind of sounds opposite. Obviously having some Final Four years at UCLA, winning a CIT championship, I wouldn't trade those for anything. But from a personal experience, to learn how much more important a mental aspect is to a team that really needs that's missing it. You know, we really missed Marc. We really missed Kevin. We missed Ben and Mike and Troy and Nate, the seniors from the 2010 team. But you can't get those guys back. Going through this experience and establishing what we're trying to establish for long-term success last year may have been the best thing that ever happened to us. Glad that we can come back this way and reestablish it.
Yeah, I was going to say, one time it's nice to have one of those.
We're not going
no
to have
more of
again.
that. Kerry,
Yeah,
thanks.
so.
That's Kerry Keating, and that's Marc Trasolini, and you're going to see both those guys an awful lot this year, right here on this air. Tip-off day in the West Coast Conference in the sport of basketball, and we're talking about one of the most beautiful campuses in America. We're talking about Pepperdine right now. Marty Wilson is with us, the head coach at Pepperdine, and so is Lorne Jackson, back after an injury. First of all, Lorne, it's great to see you back. It's great to see you up and about, man.
It's great to be back.
All right, Marty, let's talk about this Pepperdine team. Of course, there's that old adage, it's never over till it's over, but for you last year, it was over before it was over.
It was a tough one, but it was a great experience for me, first-year head coach, having the adversity that we had, being able to have some teaching moments that you probably normally wouldn't have in your first year. It helped me grow. It helped me hopefully this year be able to sit back, calm down a little bit, knowing what we have as opposed to what we didn't have last year.
I love that line of yours. I saw I didn't get any gray hairs on top of my head, but I got a lot in my beard.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll make it easier.
Yeah, well, and I'll ask you the same thing I asked Kerry Keating, who had the same kind of misfortune as you had with injuries and one thing and another. And the bottom line really is that a lot of guys who might not have gotten playing time last year did in fact get playing time, and now they have the opportunity to play with this guy.
Well, Caleb Willis is probably the big person that benefited the most. He went from 8 minutes a game the previous year to playing 30 minutes a game this past year. And he would not have played as many minutes. He probably would have played about 20 minutes a game. Well, he'll be starting one of our starting guards and starting seniors for us, and a big piece of our team. He's one of the glues to our team along with Lorne.
All right, Lorne, let's talk about just coming back off an injury. It's never an easy thing to do, but how are you feeling right now? And you got to be looking forward to the season and just being a part of it, if nothing else.
Yeah, I'm feeling really good. You know, I've been 100% for a while, but it's just good to be back on the floor and be able to participate in practice every day with my teammates.
So no question the Peps are going to be a better team certainly than they were last year, and maybe than they have been in recent years, but yet the whole conference seems to be better. I mean, it just doesn't get any easier, does it?
It doesn't, and that's a part of a coach. That's a part of a team of players that are competitive. You want to play against quality teams, quality players, quality coaches to kind of get a gauge of where you're at. And us as a building program, we want to play against quality teams. Obviously, Gonzaga has done an unbelievable job. I have the great respect for what Randy Bennett has done at St. Mary's, and that's kind of the model that we're taking of focusing on the process to help build it back up.
Well, and it seems like, I know, I've always used to say this, that any kid who walks on a campus at Pepperdine, I don't say, where do I sign? I mean, it's a beautiful campus and a great facility. No reason really why you can't win there.
Well, it's a process, though. Like I said, we have many great things to offer. Great location, great environment, great academics, a lot of things that are good. I think the past tradition is something that's big. But I think the facilities in recruiting people want to play in a nice home, want to live in a nice home. So we're in the process of updating that and getting up to standard with everyone else in the league. And I think just as we continue to get better and better players, I think we'll be able to compete with everyone else.
Let's talk about the rest of the waves this year. You talked about Wilson, you talked about Lorne. What else are we going to see from Pepperdine this year?
Well, I'll tell you what, we have some guys that did not play last year. Jan Malin, our big 7-footer, actually he's banged up right now with a thumb injury, but he's worked his tail off this summer. He's gotten down to 305. He was about 335 in June. And as he's gotten into great shape, his confidence has gotten stronger and stronger. So he's going to be a big factor. We had another young man, Mariba DeFreitas, who sat out last year with an injury. He's a great defender, great shot blocker, very vocal. So he will anchor part of our defense as well. And I think just our overall skill level with some of our new guys, Stacey Davis, Jet Raines, Atif Russell, Marty Kramer, our ability to shoot and score the ball will be that much better as well.
All right, we're going to take a couple of questions from people out there watching from Twitter, and this is for you, Marty. Who are the top freshmen this year for the Waves?
Well, Stacey Davis, I think, will be the key guy. I think he'll get quite a few votes for possibly Freshman of the Year. I know he will be a major impact. He'll be a go-to guy for us down low. He can score with his back to the basket. He can step out and shoot the ball and handle. He will have the freedom to rebound the ball and bring it in transition and make plays. And he's kind of like how Rob Jones played for St. Mary's the last few years.
So you want to push the ball if you can?
We do. I think we've opened it up. We put in some new things because we have more skill, we have more scoring, we have some more quickness with Lorne and Caleb and Jordan Baker to be able to do some things and allow them to make some plays.
All right, let's take another Twitter question here, and this is also for you, Marty. How important is it to have Lorne's leadership on the floor back?
Well, it's tremendous, and that's one thing that I've challenged Lorne, even last year when he first went down, of having him see the things from the coaching standpoint, and him being vocal to his teammates last year. So once they get back this year, it's not a new voice, and I think he's made strides to that. I challenge him every day to continue to be that leader, continue to be that voice. So I'm not always the guy barking at the teammates, the team, and when they feel it from him, they'll know it's very valuable.
Let me ask you about that, Lorne. I mean, obviously no player likes to be sitting next to the coach, but you had no choice last year. Did it really help you?
I actually think it did. You know, it helped my game, it helped my mental altogether. And, you know, it was hard to not play, but I got to be there with my teammates. I attended practice every day. And, I mean, it just helped build that camaraderie with me and all my teammates.
Talk to me about this year's team. Now, I know you haven't had a lot of time on the floor with them yet, but do you really see an appreciable difference this year from the teams that you've played on in the past year?
I really do see. I feel like our chemistry so far is better than what it has been since I've been there. Guys really know how to make the extra pass. We really know how to play together as a team, and it's just been good so far.
Do you feel upon yourself that you've got to take that leadership role now because you are the senior guy on a young team?
Yeah, I do, and I mean, I had the most Division I experience, so I mean, I take it because I have the most experience, and I'm one of the oldest guys on the team. Me and Caleb are the leaders on the team, and everybody knows that, and we lead by example.
I was going to say you're more as a do-as-I-do guy, not a do-as-I-say guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about the team in general. I think we mentioned this earlier, but depth is really going to be a key, has to be a key in this conference, as tough as it is, and especially on the road.
It is. It's going to be a challenge. And for us, depth at the guard spot. Obviously, Lorne's going to play quite a few minutes, and Caleb and Jordan Baker. The question is what we get from our other perimeter guys. The great thing is we have some multi-skilled guys, Stacey Davis, Malty Kramer, jet range, where we can move those guys in different positions, offensively and defensively. So I think that'll be a big benefit for us. But the league has those same things. I know guard play is going to be very valuable in our league. So for us to be able to utilize some of those guys to offset the talent that those other teams have is going to be big for us.
So what would constitute a good season for you right now? Here we are. We're all undefeated. Everybody's undefeated. This is great. But in the end, you know, as you sit here before we tip it off for the first time, what would constitute a good season? What would make you say, you know, we did pretty good?
You know what? I never count wins in all my years that I've been in college athletics. I've never considered X amount of wins a good season. As long as we're getting better every day, as long as we're better in February and March than we were in November and December, I think that's a big plus. As long as our guys continue to work hard, continue to be unselfish, continue to grow, I think that's going to be a successful season.
You're going to be better with this guy, I can tell you.
No doubt.
All right, Marty, thanks very much.
Appreciate
Marty Wilson, Lorne Jackson, the Pepperdine Waves. Look for them this year, too. Tip-off day for West Coast Conference basketball, and I get to talk to an old pal, one of my favorite guys, Randy Bennett, St. Mary's Gales. We're talking about now Stephen Holt, his guard, alongside. And Randy, once again, you're picked third in this conference. I had another coach say if they're third, something's really wrong.
It's a good league.
It's a good league, is right.
It's a good league. We returned 13 guys off our team last year. And so, but it is. You can make an argument for picking several of those teams. And I think the depth in our league, somebody that people don't even expect could sneak up and win the league, because there's 5 or 6 teams that have the personnel to win it. So it's I think the best personnel I've seen in our conference from top to bottom in a while.
Yeah, I think so too. And the fact of the matter is, I've got to think it really prepares you for the postseason. I mean, it's now an assumption that you're going to the postseason, but I know you got to play the games. But I think playing in this league obviously really prepares you for that.
No question, and that's kind of changed over the last. This league's always been a very good basketball conference, and I have tremendous respect for the teams and coaches that have gone before us, and I've been in the league over 20 years now, so I have a pretty good perspective. But over the last 5 or 6 years, this league has kind of taken off as, I think, a culmination of things, but the exposure we get that's helped recruiting, being on ESPN, being on Time Warner, all those things. So many of the games, not just ours or Gonzaga's, but the whole conference has so many games televised, and kids see those. Kids are growing up watching our league. So I think the recruiting classes in our league have become, the freshman class last year was terrific, and there's really good players that are young, so our league's going to be good for years to come. And I think that's kind of what happened more so in the last 4, 5, 6 years. So it's made the league better from top to bottom.
You know what I think really speaks to that, too, is the guy sitting next to you. Stephen, you came from Oregon. I know you could have gone to a lot of places, could have gone to some Pac-10 schools, then the Pac-10, now the Pac-12, and you opted for St. Mary's. So that in itself says something about this league that you're playing in.
Yeah, the West Coast Conference has been a really tremendous league for me to play in. And just being as a young little basketball player, just growing up and seeing the West Coast brand of basketball grow to where it's become now, and being a part of it has changed my perspective, and it's definitely a blessing to play in this conference, definitely.
We keep talking about guard play in the conference, and you, between Stephen and Dellavedova, you got 2 pretty good ones there.
2 pretty good, experienced ones that have been through the battle. So that's in this conference, probably like every other conference, that's very important to have guys who've been on the road, been to BYU, been to Gonzaga, been to all the tough places that you got to play at, and had success at those places. So that'd be the strength of our team this year. I think our experience in our guard play.
No tougher place to play, though, than the place you play in.
Oh, yes, McEwen Pavilion, man. It's a great atmosphere for college basketball, and just having our student section being right on top of the court just adds that flair, that intensity, just makes it a tough environment for opposing teams. And obviously it's an advantage for us, and just as a college basketball player, it's just a great feeling to have that support behind us.
You know, they always you say about Mike Krzyzewski, he doesn't recruit, he reloads. And they're starting to, you can almost say that about you, really. You lost one player and a very good player, but this team marches on. Talk about, life after Jones.
Yeah, I don't like thinking about that too much. He was a heck of a player. We'll miss him in a lot of ways. I think defensively, I thought he was as good as there was at guarding a 4-man, and so he made life easy for us there, made us better coaches. But when we lost Patty and 5 seniors one year, and everybody thought we were going to be down. That next year we went to Sweet 16. The next year we lost Omar, who had a terrific year, and Ben Allen, and everybody thought we were going to be down. And we came back and won the league. And then we lost McConnell. He was player of the year, and they thought, oh, you lost McConnell. Who's your point guard going to be? And we had a pretty good one in Dellavedova, and we came back and won the conference championship and the conference tournament championship. So you hope your program's at a point where you're going to lose good players. You're not going to do the things that we've been able to do without really good players. And hopefully there's some guys sitting underneath them that are ready to take over when it's their time. And I think that's where we're at, but time will tell.
Well, I think it says something about a coach and about a staff that every player in recent years that I can remember that's gone through your program, here I am blowing smoke at you, but but it's all true, has gotten better and better and better, and I'm sure you see that, Stephen.
Yeah, and definitely my game, just trying to get better each year from my freshman. How do I get better to my sophomore? And that's a challenge for me going to my junior campaign, is how can I transform my game from being a better player from last year and trying to help this team get another WCC championship, maybe another conference championship, and then just getting back to the NCAA tournament, because it's a great feeling trying to get that experience. So it's just taking strides and not regressing as a player.
And again, we've talked to every coach in this conference. I think the conference is so tough that you pretty much have to be deep. And once again, the Gales seem to be 10 or 11 deep.
Yeah, no, I think we're good there, depth-wise, and you have to avoid injuries. I think any team, you have a critical injury. We did with Stephen last year, and we were able to get through it. But we struggled for a second. We lost Loyola in the game. He got hurt, and then we lost at Murray State. So you don't want to have one of those early. I think Santa Clara had that happen. They lost Trasolini, and then they lost Foster. So, and when you lose guys of that caliber at these programs, it's hard to overcome. So we're healthy. We have good depth, and hopefully we'll stay healthy, and I think we'll be all right.
And they're going to need it at the conference. I mean, the fact is, Santa Clara's a lot better. They do have those two guys back. They're, considered right beneath you, BYU, and whom I forget, Gonzaga, that other team up in Spokane. But right beneath them, San Diego's a lot better than they were. Santa Clara's a lot better than they were. Loyola's a lot better than they were. Tough.
There's a lot of coaches and programs doing a really good job in our league right now. And sometimes you're doing a good job and they don't notice because there's some other teams that are just a little better at that time. But that's what I'm saying. This league's changed that way. There's the bottom teams have good players.
Yeah.
And Santa Clara is returning a team that team basically won 20-something games 2 years ago, but then they got banged up. And last year they struggled when they lost those guys. So that's why our league's going to be a good league.
We got a Twitter question for either or both of you. We'll see what it is here. It's for Stephen. What team are you looking forward to playing most in the West Coast Conference?
Man, the conference is, I don't really have a favorite team to go up against. It's just a privilege just to be in this conference and play against top-notch competition, because the parity in our league has gotten so much closer. So I feel like anytime I step on the court, I'm just as excited, whether it's a road game or a home game. I'm just ready to play.
And playing on the road can be tough. I mean, we've talked about what a great home court your court is, but you go up to the Kennel up in Spokane. That's no box of chocolates. BYU, 19,000 people screaming at you at BYU. There are no gimmies in the conference.
Oh, there's no gimmies at all. Just one slip up could potentially, ruin your rankings and all that kind of stuff. But that's what's great about our program. We value one game at a time, and no matter who we play, or on the road or at home, it's all about taking care of our principles and our values and just competing at that moment. And so that's what we value.
It's going to be the St. Mary's team that you know and that you've come to love. Randy, thanks a lot.
Thanks for having us on.
And thanks to Stephen Holt. Stephen, wish you the best. That's the
you.
St. Mary's Gales, and they're going to be up there near the top, scrapping.